we continue to do what we know to do until we change what we know to be true. And if you repeatedly make unhealthy choices for yourself, you teach your children the same life techniques. We love and hate that they copy us in everything, but they do. Then they start formulating their own opinions, and they'll either credit you for them or discredit you for them. It's really our choice. Am I being too tough here? Trust that it's coming from a place that deeply wishes your best interests be realized in life. Nothing worth having is not worth fighting or working hard for, and sometimes that fight is a personal internal struggle with where we come from, how we've worked with that, and where we're headed because of our efforts. Too often, we hear people blaming their childhoods for who they have become and what they have done. There are great volumes of evidence to support that our childhood molds us at a core level. Sure, not contesting that, and there's always unfinished business we carry with us into adulthood, affectionately described as baggage. Some carry backpack baggage, some suitcases of baggage, and then some have designer ranges of baggage, and the vanity case included. If we don't unpack and sort through our stuff, we can't finish up our unfinished business, and then we dump all our contents into our relationships and interactions. But who you become is your responsibility. We can't blame others for things we do. That's a fundamental. We almost always have the opportunity to choose our own outcome and own it, although it's certainly much easier to blame someone from our past or a past experience for how we behave now. Most people have endured a measure of difficulty in their childhoods. The barometer is particular to each person and is probably personal needs measured against the amount those needs are met. But, regardless, in adulthood we need to be able to say, alrighty, that's what I got dished out, but if I only respond to that, then it defines me. Then I'm no better than the source of those unmet needs or misery even. I have to take responsibility for my thoughts, my actions and being, regardless of my life experience to date, or I forever empower my caregivers to continue my unmet needs cycle into my adulthood and disempower myself in making choices to be different, better, or whole. So, we need to look hard into our baggage. We have to start unpacking all of it so we don't remain a victim. Sure, this is a hectic chapter for me to write. I began this journey of challenging myself head-on after my husband and I separated. Originally, I was so angry. I wanted it to be all his fault, lay all the blame at his door. Nice, neatly packaged, not my stuff. But the truth is brutal most times, and I needed to be brutal with myself to help me take ownership of my role in the play of our relationship, my part in the problem. So I had to ask and answer all the questions posed earlier and delve into even deeper ones too. Like, why'd I choose him? What is it about me that allowed me to marry a man unlikely to meet my needs? Now, I'm not talking of regret. I have zero regrets here. No one should regret their choices. Just learn from them if they didn't serve you so you can choose better in the future. Also, there is a part of me that will always appreciate him. Because of our marriage, we have a precious son, a gift from above I cherish. Let's not forget the good. Ever. And also, the relationship served as a pivotal catalyst for a major part of my dedicated self-improvement project since we separated. I'm not encouraging that we go through this process alone initially. If resources provide for it, a highly recommended therapist or counselor for work in this area is a great privilege to work with. If not, state counselors or counselors provided within religious organizations are also helpful. Honest friends can also help, but you need to remember to maintain boundaries and not blur them too much, because we also need a place to be held through it all, and friends are great for that. Growth, with all its immense rewards, hurts a lot before it heals into something new to rely on. At the beginning of this reflective period, we tend to blind ourselves with a distorted belief in our own perfection in the relationship to protect ourselves from the reality of being a part of the problem, and we hate that, being part of the problem. It wasn't me, it was him. Doesn't that have a familiar ring? It should do. It's called an inability to have insight into your personal responsibility for your actions. I think it's traditionally experienced in childhood, and that's what happens if we haven't reflected on our childhood yet when entering or living an adulthood. We live as big children and make life choices in the same way. Doesn't really serve us in the long run, does it? So, we unpack, lay it all in front of us, and then sift through it thinking, no way. That's why I do this? That's why I do that? And once we sort through it all, we can resolve some of the sources of our choices and behavior and therefore make different choices. Why? Because we become a new whole. The baggage gets lighter, which is always a relief in travels, isn't it? Bottom line, the work is worth it. Pat yourself on the back. It's good to do here, because by leaving, you have already become part of the solution, and that's a much better place to be. Not necessarily an easier place at the outset, but certainly a better place to be than living in the denial of your needs, or possibly better put, reliving your childhood in a different form by perpetuating drowning in the sea of your unmet needs. So what am I really saying here in this part of the forest? I don't get to pour myself into this journey as often as I'd prefer because I get distracted. I don't like that I get distracted, but I do. The best I can do for me is forgive myself, breathe it out, and begin again. It's easy to allow distractions to pop in when we're in life crisis too, but it's not in our best interests. So, acknowledge the dating search party should be called off for now, if that's true for you. Apologize to yourself for running out on yourself, and apologize to your children for running out on them, and go back to basics. Begin again. Find a working space to have your baggage delivered and start unpacking. A lot of it will come as a life shock. How'd that get in there? It's okay. It's part of you. Make peace with it. Confront it. It'll change form if you do it wholeheartedly. Then either pack it back in neatly or bury it in the forest. No longer required. For your efforts, your honesty, your pain, and your process, you'll journey on lighter for it, and I acknowledge you for it now. Then, in good time, call the dating search party back on and it'll come to you. We draw to ourselves who we are, not who we want to have. And that's why we repeat relationship dramas and choices if we don't do this work we've just chatted about. Because we don't heal, develop, and change enough to attract a healthier partner. A partner more likely to meet our needs, and whose needs we are more likely to meet. I don't know about you, but I need a breather. Come sit here next to me in the clearing of the forest and tell me what you honestly see in the mirror of your reflected choices. Who's there? And what needs to be unpacked so you can journey on lighter? Take some time to think about it now before you move on. And then please love yourself anyway, and let's move ahead.